Let's get right to it. We only have 3 hours and tons going on. First things first, Hurricane Melvin. With our buddy Joe Bastardi, chief meteorologist, weatherbell.com. Joe, what's happening, brother?
Well, it's going through a second cycle of deepening, and we saw this coming yesterday when it fell apart a little bit. It didn't really fall apart, just weakened with the interaction with the Yucatan, and some drier air tried to get into it. But now that it's pulling away from the Yucatan, it's re-intensifying, and it's probably going to hit a second peak. Let me explain something about this storm, though, folks. When it reaches the Florida coast, it will not be as strong at the center as what you're seeing now. The problem is it'll be much bigger. It'll be a very, very big storm by that time, so that hurricane force winds are extending out 100 miles to the south and north of the center. Right now, they only extend out 20 miles. So it's like a mighty mite right now. Very small, relatively compact. So what will happen is it will still have the same amount of total energy, and that total energy is pushing a wall of water at the Florida west coast from the southwest. The last time this happened in Tampa was 1921. Now you say, well, what about Ian? What about Charlie? All those storms went in south of Tampa. And we saw Helene, Idalia, and Debbie. They went into the north of Tampa. This is coming very close to Tampa. It may be 20, 30 miles south of Tampa. A lot of the models, some of the models are a little bit further south. Most of the models that I've just looked at are right over Tampa Bay. But here's the thing that you have to understand. The total power of the storm is very concentrated now. It's going to continue to increase the amount of power it has. Don't be fooled if the categories fall down, because the storm will be just as big and destructive even if it hits off its peak. I'll give you examples. Rita, Katrina, Wilma, all those hit the United States as Category 3s after 5. Now, I'm talking about the Saffir-Simpson scale. My company's developed a power and impact scale, which takes into account the size I'm talking about. And the size of the storm will be very important, so it's going to be near its peak on our scale when it reaches the coast, probably between 8 and midnight. So very, very close to Tampa, if not at the mouth of the bay, perhaps a tad bit further south. Not going to make a difference with the tremendous surge that the National Hurricane Center is forecasting. It will move right up the I-4 corridor, come out just north of Cape Canaveral, it looks like in the morning on Thursday, head out to sea. And that area, that I-4 corridor, is going to get hit by hurricane force winds. Not as bad, of course, as what we're going to see around Tampa, but still a substantial storm. And when it's all said and done, it's liable to rival Ian as far as total damage done to Florida in billions of dollars.
My God, I've never seen anything like this. I'm no expert, Joe, but let me ask you a question. As this thing moves from the West Coast, Central Florida, East Coast, I heard Governor DeSantis say, and you folks on the East Coast, things may well happen when this hurricane's in the Atlantic. Is that true, and what is that?
Well, no, they'll get 3 to 5 hours of strong north winds, probably gusts 85, 90 miles an hour out of the north, but it'll be moving away from them. Mm-hmm. And so the weather will consistently improve. It's not like a storm coming at you from the southwest. As far as never seeing this, if one of the things my professors at Penn State, Dr. John Kerry, late Dr. John Kerry, said, go study typhoons in the Pacific. You'll learn all about how these things really work. So you're seeing an exceptional situation, but it's not something that we haven't seen before. Wilma in the Caribbean, she went down, I believe, to 882 millibars, and the eye was only a half mile wide. So what happens is,
let me do it this way. In plain English, the average American who hasn't studied typhoons in Japan and so forth, when's the last time something like this hit the United States?
Well, it's going to hit, it's Helene. It's going to hit with the strength of Helene at the center. It's not going to be the same storm it is now. But it's like, okay, what I call is like, suppose with 23 years old, you're throwing a 102 mile an hour fastball, but then 8 or 9 years later, you get a wicked slider like Steve Carlton used to have, right? He's not throwing a fastball as hard, but he's still just as nasty a pitcher. So what happens is when it hits, when we total it up, and we'll say, well, this was the 34th strongest storm to hit Florida as far as pressure and high.
But you're saying that's not really what you look at. You look at the overall hurricane, the width of the hurricane, and so forth.
Right. You got it. It's going to expand. It's going to get bigger. It's going to be stronger. And you see, this is how nature works. There's only so much energy you can bundle in very closely. Then it will start to expand. But think about this, and I tell this to people all the time. And this is why I get really upset with these people with the climate change, because they don't look at the size of some of the storms. Katrina officially hit as a Category 3. But its hurricane force winds were so far out that all that energy of 80 to 100 mile an hour winds piled in and piled the water up. Carla versus Harvey. Carla gave hurricane force winds to the entire Texas coast. Harvey only 100 miles wide. Both the force, but which was the greater storm as far as power goes? So we want to get that across to people, because if you start saying, oh my gosh, look, it's starting to weaken, it's not really weakening. It's expanding in a different way, and it's just as deadly and just as strong, and this is
So really, Joe, before we run out, ignore the category number and pay attention to the fact that this is just, for the average person, a massive, brutal storm.
That's exactly right. You got it right there. Don't dwell on those categories. Look, the National Hurricane Center, people give them a hard time. They are great at this kind of storm. They're going to be right on top of it. Governor DeSantis is just amazing at getting people ready.
He is brilliant.
What a difference. But you guys just hunker down. You get out of the way of the darn thing. You come back and you rebuild and you come back stronger. That's how it's going to be.
But get out of there. Get out of there at ground zero. Yeah. All right, Joe, you're the best. If people want to learn more about you and your company, where do they go?
Well, weatherbell.com is our site, and it's a premium site, but we still put information out to get people there. And I'm on @Big Joe Bastardi on Twitter, or whatever the heck I am. That I put a lot of stuff out there to get people to look, and especially, I can't believe this whole climate situation. It's like nuts to me. But in any case,
Joe,
a lot of stuff there, brother.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate you at the last minute like this. Take care of yourself. Joe Bastardi is the best. So there, we learned a lot. This is just one damn big hurricane. It's going to do a lot of brutal damage. And if you haven't gotten into your vehicle to get the hell out of there, I don't know what you're waiting for. Because if you have an OS moment, there's nowhere to go. There's nobody there to help you. I'll just give you an example. We built our house in Florida to 210 mile an hour winds. It's built of steel and cement. It's built like a pillbox, a bunker. It doesn't look like it on the outside, but that's the structure. It's supposed to be able to withstand a massive hurricane and even these tides of 10, maybe 12, maybe 13 feet. The windows are almost bulletproof. The casings the windows are in are massive. It took 4 or 5 men to put each window in, to put the doors in. The doors open towards the outside, again, because of the weather and so forth. The roof is a massive commercial roof. So basically all the money in this house went into the structure. But so what? I'm never going to sit there through the middle of a hurricane. I want to come back to a home. And everything around it will be destroyed. But I want the home to be there because I can't build it again. God knows if it will be. But that's what it's tested to. But there's no way I would wait in that house. Even on the east coast of Florida, while the hurricane is busting through the state of Florida. It's not wise. And so you don't need me to tell you this, folks. You're all mature adults. But why test it? Mother Nature's a mother. And you know what I mean by that. I don't mean a sweet mother, a nurturing mother. This is Mother Nature. Unlike earthquakes and tornadoes and things of that sort, hurricanes are predictable within a window. Number of days, basic area where it's going to hit, and basic outcomes. So there's no excuse. To be perfectly honest, no excuse.